And this hangout is live. Konnichiwa, bitches. Welcome to the trade deadline edition of the Ultimate Man's League podcast. Connor, what the hell is going on?
What's up, Doug? Still queer? No, but
What?
it's been a crazy week. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what might still be going on after this podcast or during this podcast. I have no idea what's going on.
That's what we call a tease in the business, folks. So we're going to go through each of these trades, I think, Connor, the best thing to do. And
That might take all night, but we could try.
yeah, talk about some winners, losers, and I guess we'll try to preview. I guess we'll try to preview this week's games, but I don't even know who's on what team at this point. Lots of crazy stuff. So I guess I'll turn on the screen share. Not that it really matters, but I'll try to put some stuff up for you guys to visually take stock of the different trades. All right, we'll do it Google Sheets. All right, Connor, hit us with this first trade.
So you want to go by trade in order?
You want to go by team or you want to go by trade? If you did the team thing, let's do that.
Do the team? All right, we'll do team.
First team.
First one I put down was Carlo.
The Queef Wellington, UML champion Queef Wellington. So basically, Connor, do you want to kind of explain how we're going to do this for the guys?
Basically, I did what players that they won for this year. I did who they lost for this year, as well as the keepers that they lost. And then I did a separate keeper for who they gained as a keeper for the future.
Okay. Queef Wellington, let's start with what he gained for the year.
Well, he racked himself up Saquon Barkley and Kirk Cousins.
Kind of addressed two of his biggest holes by doing that. Fixed his quarterback room and got himself an elite running back. But what was the cost, Connor?
The cost for him was one of his beloved wide receivers that he's held on dearly to for quite some time, Davante Adams, and his rights.
In round 18.
Yes. As well as McDonald's rights and an 8th rounder.
And Vance McDonald, for what it's worth, was a 15th round keeper. And he also burned up an 8th round pick, which means he will also lose Eli Manning after the season. Probably not a huge loss. Was probably planning on doing that anyway. But it is a lot. Is there anything else to touch for Carlo? And did he do enough to repeat as Ultimate Man's League champion in the 2018 season?
Definitely shapes him up a lot better than he was. Like you said, he addressed two of his biggest concerns, and he got two of considerably the best players to do so with. So, yes, he lost Davante Adams to 18. That's a huge blow. But like we've said for weeks and weeks and weeks, he's got so many wide receivers. It's almost like it didn't matter. So for him to gain Barkley out of any running back to have gained, I think that was a huge plus. He definitely pulled off some big trades.
So the verdict, I'm going to say that Carlo's a winner. Trade deadline. Yeah. He didn't give up. I mean, he gave up some good pieces, but definitely improved his team. Why don't we move on to AJ, who did one of these trades with Carlo?
Good. That's what I had next.
Just how we drew it up. So AJ gave up quite a bit, but also got quite a bit. Let's look into how AJ did here and the trade deadline.
All right. For gains for this year, he got Marcus Mariota and Tyler Lockett.
Some guys to put in his lineup, mostly, it seems like.
Yep. As well as gaining Landry in round 17. He obviously Davante Adams, which we talked about, and he also got Jared Cook in round 10.
Yeah, that's Jared Cook's having a great year. He's around 10. He's seems to be a Gruden favorite. He's playing really well, and even the years where he's been disappointing, he's been a tight end too in the UML. So you've got two stud receivers. You got some guys you can use this year. Startable tight end for next year. That's that's how you do it, right? That's how you if you're gonna punt on a season, that's how you do it.
You got to go big.
But he did lose, as we talked about, Saquon Barkley, and what else?
He also lost Jared Goff, the quarterback 3 on the year, as well as Golden Tate, a top 20 wide receiver.
So he paid up for this stuff for the year, but he's going to retain all of these assets going into next season. And with Saquon Barkley, Jared Goff, Landry Adams, Golden Tate, this is going to be a good team next year. So, AJ, hats off to you. I'm going to say that AJ is also a winner, maybe the biggest winner of the day out of anybody. That said, you got to eventually try to win, and I think next year you'll see AJ very aggressive at the trade deadline, while he was a little passive this year. Agree that AJ is a winner.
Agree.
All right, next team involved is?
Put you up next, Deb.
All right, Murder Muppets. Lost, gained. All right, how did the Muppets do at the deadline here? Let's start with what we lost.
With what you lost Andy Dalton for the season. You lost Traquan Smith, one of your waiver claims. And you lost 2 keepers, Hayden Hurst and Pettis.
All right, and what did the Muppets gain?
You got your hands on 2 very good wide receivers, Cooper Kupp, Kenny Galladay, and for depth after losing Andy Dalton, you seem to have snagged Case Keenum in that deal.
All right, so what do you think of these moves? I'll leave my own opinions with my own moves out of here. What were your thoughts on the Murder Muppets?
I'd say very shrewd. You got the most out of very little. You got a wide receiver that, if he didn't get hurt, is possibly in the top 10. And for that reason alone, just for that one player out of the 3, I'm going to give you a win for the night on your deals.
So everybody's a winner so far in Connor's eyes, and we'll see if these moves are going to be enough for any of these people to contend for a title. What's the next team on your list, Connor?
I've got Nate coming up next.
D's Nate's. All right, let's see what he lost, what he gained, and how he did on the day. Nate was moving a lot.
For what he won, I have Andy Dalton for this season.
Right.
And an 8th rounder. And then the keepers, which I'll get into. He also has Hayden Hurst as a keeper. He has Vance McDonald. And in this last trade that happened, he got Will Fuller.
9, right?
7 or 9, one of the 2.
Let's call it 9. That's quite the haul he got there for giving up Dalvin Cook for the year, Case Keenum for the year, Cooper Kupp. What else did he give up?
Kirk Cousins.
So he definitely punted on the season. He's 2-7, hugely at risk for the toilet. But did he win on the day, do you think, on balance?
Seeing what he was able to pull in for the assets he gave up compared to AJ, I'm actually going to call Nate a loser on this one.
Oh, shit, Nate. Shots fired.
I think he could have gotten a lot more value out of what he got. I think one of his biggest downfalls was giving up Kupp and Case Keenum for a quarterback that basically is only 2 spots ahead of Case Keenum and Andy Dalton. And Andy Dalton's not going to have AJ Green for 4 weeks, or two with 2+. I would say it's probably going to be around 4. So to me, giving up Cooper Kupp, a possible top 10 wide receiver for what he got, I think he could have done a lot better.
Interesting. Team number 5.
I put Joe here. It's no real order. I just who I have.
Broadway Joes. Let's see what Joe lost, what he gained, and how we thought he did.
Joe is probably one of the busiest of today.
A little uncharacteristic, to be honest.
For what he won, he has Devontae Adams for this year. He has Leonard Fournette for this year. Demaryius Thomas for this year. And most recently, he was able to grab Dalvin Cook.
That is quite the haul.
That's a lot of big name guys.
When Demaryius Thomas is easily the worst player you got. What did he give up to get all that?
He also has Tyler Eifert's rights for next year.
Wow, Joe, busy boy. And what did he give up to get all that?
Well, he gave up Corey Davis and his rights. He gave up Rudolph's keepers. He gave up Fuller's keepers. And Eric Ebron's keepers as well.
So this team's in rough shape going into next season, no question. Did he do enough to compete, though, is a big question for Joe.
In terms of his standing he's 4-5 right now. There's a chance that he might miss the playoffs. And if that were to happen, this would be a huge fail. However, in terms of just looking at it today, I think he's got a good shot to win a lot of games now. You know, he's got 4 pretty big name guys. 2 are very unhealthy, but there's still 4 big name guys with the roster that he already has. I think short term, it's a win. If I were to say a long term, I would call him a big loser potentially. But for this season, and that is what he was trying to do, I think it's a win.
A winner, chicken dinner. This is one of those things that's got to work out. Joe he's a toilet seat team next year if this doesn't pan out.
Yep.
Maybe he is anyway, but this is just, but you'll take a toilet seat for a championship. So, next team on your list?
Why don't we get myself out of the way, Doug?
Yeah, why don't we? Get you out of the way. So you went ahead and made a couple moves of your own this trade deadline. Why don't you walk us through some of them, and I'll give you the verdict.
All right, Dougie. For what I lost, we'll start. Well, win or loss, what do you want to start with?
Let's start with what you gained.
Gained. Okay, for gained, I was able to snag Jared Goff, 3rd best quarterback in fantasy.
Hasn't had his bye week yet, but you won't hold that against him.
Jarvis Landry. Golden Tate. Buck Allen.
Ooh, I'll put him right at the top. Jeez. Okay.
And the keeper rights to Kyle Rudolph.
Got Rudolph, the red zone reindeer, right back next season.
17.
Round 17. Only keeper you got, but what did you give up to get all that?
I gave up Derek Carr and his rights.
That's a big loss at round 16.
I gave up Isaiah Crowell and his rights. I gave up Kiki QT. Tyler Lockett, one of my faves, so it's sad to see him go.
Yeah, it's David Moore time now, Connor.
And the Traquan Smith keeper rights.
You gave up quite a bit of young wide receiver talent and a starting quarterback, Traquan Smith, round 12. So you gave up quite a bit, but you plugged these last couple holes that you had in your team. A little bit of depth at receiver, another quarterback that doesn't suck, and another depth running back that can catch some passes if you get an injury. Obviously, you gave up Crowell, so you had to do something there. We'll find out if it's enough, but I think you when all the other contenders are doing something, you have to do something too. You can't stay pat, and because if you did, you'd let everyone else just pass you. I think you're a winner here. We'll see how it plays out.
Well, thank you, Doug.
Who else we got?
We got Tim up next.
The Petersburg Penguins, probably the most active person in all these trades. Gave up a lot, gained a lot. How do we think the Penguins did?
Boy, we have to get what they got first. For what they gained, he gained Traquan Smith for the year. He gained Corey Davis and his rights.
That's a good get.
He gained Ryan Tannehill and Brock Osweiler, whoever's going to be the Dolphins quarterback for the foreseeable future. He also snagged a handful of keepers. He had Pettis, Ebron, and Burton. So next year's tight end worries will be gone, which was a huge pain for him this season.
Definitely, that's for sure. I'm sorry, who's the other tight end he got?
It was Burton.
But he sacrificed some early draft picks next year. He got some young talent. What did he have to give up, and if anything, to do this?
Well, he had to give up some big time names. He gave up Matthew Stafford, Leonard Fournette, Demaryius Thomas, and his Eifert keepers, which isn't a big problem since he can gain two more keepers of players that can probably stay healthier and be on the field more.
See, this is one of those situations where I feel like he probably could have gotten more. I don't necessarily. I mean, he got a lot of stuff, but I feel like he probably could have gotten more. What were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I not even so much of what he could have gotten more. He drafted so many wide receivers, and half of what he gained is more wide receivers. It would have been nice to have seen him kind of make a play for a running back instead, even somebody of the future. I know Stafford was an easy give, and he got the keeper he wanted in Burton. I don't have so much of a problem with that. I think it was more of with Joe's trade, giving up a guy like Leonard Fournette, even if it's only for the rest of the year. I think he should have tried to have gotten a little bit more out of that, and not necessarily a wide receiver. Corey Davis is nice, but when you've got the roster you already have, I would have liked to have seen something else.
Yeah, particularly when third round for Corey Davis is retail.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're paying full price for that. So I'll put loser on here, I guess. But overall, I think his team will be better next year than it was yesterday. So
I'd say it's a very low risk in the trade.
I mean, yeah, 4 games of Stafford, Fournette, and Thomas. Like he wasn't going to win. He wasn't going to win the league. Wasn't going to make the playoffs. So I get why he did it. He just maybe could have executed a little bit better.
Yep.
Doug Senior.
Yep, he's the last one. Only made one trade, but it was for a big cause. He's got Cam. Now he's got Stafford as his gain from his trade. I think that's a pretty substantial win for him. He's able to give up basically quarterbacks he wouldn't have used with the addition of Matthew Stafford and Brock Osweiler and Ryan Tannehill. And he burned his Burton keeper, but in the 4th round, maybe he was thinking he's not high on him and he would have thrown him back anyway. I think it was a very low risk, high reward trade for him to pull off.
Yeah, for sure. I think overall, it's a win just because what you mentioned that Trey Burton thing in the 4th round. It's something that's valuable, but it's also easy to get rid of because hey, now you have a 4th round draft pick. So that was a good thing. Real quick, Connor, is there anyone who we didn't go over who didn't make a trade that's a winner or a loser?
I'd probably say at this point, I'll do a winner, you do a loser. How about that?
Sure. I'll be the bad guy.
For for a winner, I think I'm gonna say my dad's team. Uh, it's kind of like everybody was kind of getting on pace with him. His running backs are a little weak right now. We still don't know what's going to happen with Le'Veon Bell. It doesn't look good, but I think that everybody's kind of making the mark to be on his level, and I think him not making a deal is more neutral for him, and neutral is good. So I'd say that I'd call him a winner out of that.
Great. I'm going to say a loser is our buddy Esteban, Steve Walker, owner of Suck My Ditka. Not only is he a loser because he didn't make any trades, he's also a loser because he got stomped by the Muppets 2 weeks ago in fantasy. But no, I mean every other single team that was a contender got better, and Steve stood pat. His team is good, maybe still better than some of those teams, and he's got a lot of wins that are already stacked up. But adding another quarterback, adding another running back would have been good. Adding another wide receiver. I know he was all feeling himself over Matt Breida, but it's been a month since the guy's had a good game. So that said, he'll probably be good this week against the Giants. But making a trade here to try to win a title is worth it. And you would trade all your keepers to if it was guaranteed. And Steve didn't seem to want to do that. We'll see how he looks going forward. But I would say Steve is a loser just because he didn't do anything to improve his good team.
On the flip side, if you want a winner and loser for somebody on the lower side of the bracket, I think that a winner might be the Long Bushes. I think that they made some depth and future goal reaches while still having a 5-4 record. Still has a shot to make the playoffs. He can laugh in somebody's face that made all these trades when he still makes the playoffs. Could be something that works out for him. He addressed an issue at running back, and he added some depth in other places. I think that could be one. And for a loser, I might say Adam, being at 2-7, did nothing for trades like a lot of the other bottom teams. He's 2-7 right now. He could have gotten a lot of future picks tonight, and so far he has not done that.
A low-key winner are the Compton Cookie Snatchers. And I know, Ray, right now, it does not feel that way because you're probably not going to the playoffs. You didn't do anything to get better this season, but you held on to all your keepers. You still have good keepers. And every other team that's going to be in the first pick tournament with you gave up a lot of pieces. So I think Ray is a winner here for the simple reason I think he's in a really good position to win the first choice tournament and get himself that stud in the first round. He can throw back Russell Wilson with very little penalty, and I just think that staying pat, holding on to these keepers, don't overreact. Obviously, it's not been Ray's year, but next year could be. What are your thoughts on Ray being a winner?
Yeah, that was my second choice after Pat. Just for the fact that I think with 4 and 5, he's probably not going to have a chance to make the playoffs. But Pat and Ray will be the two favorites most likely going in to the first pick tournament. Assuming Pat can't reach it.
Yeah. So after I know we're still waiting for the dust to settle a little bit, but you see the standings there on the screen. Who's making the playoffs?
Oh man, you gonna do that to me?
I'm gonna do that to you right now. Who's getting the bye? We'll start there.
I think the 12-point trippers will still pull off a bye. I'd say depending on who made the better trades and who got more, I'd say out of the two, you and Queef Wellington, I'd say Queef Wellington might get that second bye depending on how hot his team can go.
Or next week's game between the two of us will be very, very important for a playoff position.
If he loses to me this week, obviously, which seems very likely, then maybe that won't be the case. But if he were to win against me, I think he'd have a good shot. And I mean, Suck My Dick is still at 7-2. I think those two 7-2 teams are a lock to make the playoffs, regardless of what happens here. They're also the two teams that made no trades today. We'll see.
So it sounds like you have your top 4. Who gets those last spots? You got the fullbacks, the Rampage, the Bushes, the Joes, the Snatchers.
I think it'll still be me and the Rabbit College Rampage. I haven't taken a good look at the remaining schedule for these guys, but off of the teams themselves, I think those two will. I think Joe might have a heartbreaker and barely miss getting in. I think it'll come down to tiebreakers, and I think it'll be between those three teams.
Well,
I
you
think
see Joe's
Pat.
schedule on the screen right now. Joe's lost 3 straight, um, including 3 to potential playoff teams.
Mhm.
Uh, but if you look at his remaining schedule, extremely winnable games. He should beat the White Sharks. I think he probably has enough firepower to beat the Bushes. I don't think he should be counting on that by any means, but he can definitely win that game. And then Nate should go over with all the trades he made, and then the Pain Train has been pretty up and down this year. Honestly, a surprise at 4-5, but I mean, Joe could run the table. I mean, that might not, like we said earlier, that might still not be
I could
enough.
totally see him winning every game from now on for sure.
Other teams that have some playoff aspirations, the Long Bushes. That game against Joe, that's definitely a like loser goes home type of game, I would say.
Yep.
But on the flip side, while we say Joe could run the table, I could see Pat losing all the rest of his game. I don't think he will, but it could happen. He could lose to Ray.
Every win he gets is huge too. He's got to play me. He's got to play Joe. He's got to play the Trippers and the Cookie Snatchers on the outs. They're all huge games. He has to want to win every one.
Yeah, and the thing is, he booked 5 wins. He's got some backbreaking losses out there too. Murder Muppets, Suck My Ditka, Rampage that could come back and bite him. But I think that Week 11 game, Joe's versus Bush's, I think that's a loser go home game right there.
Mm-hmm.
The Rampage, look at their final 4 games: Pain Train, Ditka, Muppets, and a depleted Man Bear Pig. And the Muppets game, I have no Chiefs and no Rams, so that should be a pretty easy game for him. So basically speaking, he's got to win his next 2 games, and I think at that point he's probably in. What do you think?
Yep. I think I have a tiebreaker over him and the Broadway Joes. That might save me from looking at some of these schedules coming up. I think it could be really close. I think Rampage, Joe, and myself could all be looking at who beat who coming up in the last week.
Absolutely, and we'll look at the fullbacks remaining schedule here with this last one. Queef Wellington, depleted Man Bear Pig, and then a couple of so you definitely don't look over, and Ray and Pat there. Not a horrible schedule, not a great one, but like you mentioned earlier, this game against Queef Wellington this week is huge.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have you do not have the tiebreaker against the Murder Muppets, and I'm wondering why that is, Connor.
Oh, fuck you.
Why couldn't you beat the Murder Muppets? That's the real question.
Apparently, because I need to make some trades.
That's right. You did need to make some trades. Did not make them soon enough. And the Muppets vanquished you in your building.
Oh, boy.
According to this, I don't really know what the @ means, but in your building, we came in there and hung a league high 176.9 on you.
That's your high? Oh, boy.
Well, of the week. League high of the week. Ray only had 176.5 or something like that. So obviously my team is far superior.
Pretty low scoring week, I'd say.
Yeah, it is actually a pretty low scoring week, but still, I'll take it. That said, there's a lot of stuff on the line here in these last 4 weeks. Is there any questions from the peanut gallery before we abbreviate this podcast?
Yeah, everybody's quiet. Anybody got some questions? Any trades to go through right now?
Yeah, anyone have any trades? Questions, comments, concerns? Game of the week. Is it Nate's Penguins? No, it's got to be Trippers Ditka, right?
Either that or me versus Carlo.
Battle for first place. Steve, you win this one, you get that bye. So watch out for that, fellas. Anyway, Connor, is there anything you want to add before we sign off, since it doesn't seem like we're getting any?
Oh, that's it then? All right.
I guess it's going to be it. I mean, lots of trades going on.
You can tell Doug's itching to get off here so he can make some more rapes.
You know it, guys. If anybody wants to get some Kansas City Chiefs on their team for the playoff run, holler at your boy. Get you some Chiefs. Little Patrick Mahomes. Little Tyreek Hill, make your team better, treat you real nice. Uh, Aside from that, I hope everyone voted yesterday, and we'll see you next time on the Ultimate Man's League podcast. Until next time, konnichiwa, bitches.